Distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning to all. It's indeed a great pleasure and honor for me to have the opportunity to interact with the friends of environment. Let me say this. Here the people are sitting here, they are the friends of environment, and let me congratulate DawnMedia Group and the Breathe Pakistan team for organizing this second Breathe Pakistan International Climate Change Conference. This is a vital platform to demonstrate our collective commitment towards a greener, a caring and a responsible Pakistan, inshallah. This also shows the commitment of the organizers with respect to having a smooth transition of the country and having an environment-friendly ecosystem in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, as we all know, that Pakistan is among the world's most climate vulnerable countries with very limited financial resources to cope with this existential challenge. As declared in 2025 Breathe Pakistan resolution, climate change in Pakistan is not an isolated environmental issue. It is a cross-cutting national emergency that cuts across every sector of our economy and society. The recurring floods, droughts, and extreme weather conditions are having very strong and huge implications on our agriculture sector, on our water resources and infrastructure. Heat waves are intensifying, with temperatures exceeding 50% in some regions and cities. Is no longer a rare event, it becoming an emerging norm. The 2022 floods displaced over 33 million people and caused losses of, these are direct losses, of more than $15 billion. And if you include the indirect losses, they were exceeding $28 billion. The direct losses were more than 4% of our GDP. Even the losses in 2025, though they remained relatively contained, but they also displaced millions of people and caused huge disturbance and cost and miseries to the citizenry. The climate risk is projected to cause annual losses of 18 to 20% of GDP by 2050 if we don't build our resilience and our capacity to cope with these challenges. But given these challenges, you could see that still, despite all these efforts and initiatives by the forums like this one, still there is a lack of concern towards this existential risk. Still, we can see the vehicles running on the road emitting very large amount of smoke, black smoke that is being emitted. And I can see on the roads of Karachi, the buses of 50 years old, they are still running on the roads. The way we are using our water resources, despite being a severely water-stressed country, still our culture, our habits are not reflecting that we are aware and we are cognizant of that risk. So that culture will have to be inculcated. And that would require collective and collaborative efforts, numerous such forums, the interventions at school levels, the interventions at education levels, the interventions at various organizational levels, so that we would embed that culture that we must be responsible, we must be caring towards our environment. Otherwise, things are getting difficult with each passing day. So given this gigantic and existential risk, Pakistan demonstrating that we are a responsible country, despite the fact that we are contributing less than 1% in the GHG emissions. But still we committed that by 2035, we would be reducing our GHG emissions by 50%. But that is a very ambitious plan. And that ambitious plan requires a financing to the tune of more than $550 million, billion dollars, my apologies. So this is a huge amount. And that, what we can see, that still the overall plan with respect to financing with this very large amount of funding that is needed is still largely missing. There are efforts going on. We have been collaborating with various multinational partners and the donor agencies. But at the same time, there needs to be a plan whereby we could see that what amount of resources we would be able to generate domestically through our domestic markets, and what amount of resources we would be able to generate through our international collaborations and the partners. We have been having interactions with World Bank, with ADB, with AIAB, with Islamic Development Bank. There are efforts going on, but still a consultative plan developed in, with the consultation of all the relevant stakeholders, including the banks and financial institutions, and including our partners, that needs to be in place. So now, what the central bank has been doing to ensure that the banks and financial institutions have that realization and understanding of this huge risk. This risk is not going to impact their own balance sheets, but the overall business viability and business continuity of their respective clientele. So, having the cognizance of that huge risk, we have been taking various initiatives since last about 10 years. Our journey in this respect started in 2017 when we issued the green banking guidelines, and the objective was that the banks should be prepared to have a smooth transition towards a green and environmental friendly financing and investment policies and practices, as well as operations. And the banks should be able to embed the climate risk in their overall risk inventory. Then in 2022, we came up with another initiative that we developed in collaboration with IFC, and the initiative was that we issued the environmental and social risk management framework. Here again, the objective was to provide that toolkit and structured approach toward to the banks and financial institutions to assess, measure, and mitigate the climate change risk. The most important initiative that we took, we started in 2023 and we completed that initiative in 2025, is the development of the green taxonomy. And that is, to me, one of the most critical steps and initiative that we took in collaboration with Ministry of Climate Change. We partnered with Ministry of Climate Change and came up with Pakistan Green Taxonomy. With the help of World Bank, we have that taxonomy developed. And now that taxonomy provides the scientifically approved benchmarks and parameters and thresholds to identify that which project is green and which is yet to be green, maybe in transition towards green, and which project is red. So you have a clear benchmark available. There can no more be greenwashing. So that is the most critical step that we have taken, and we believe that it will provide that clarity to the banks, financial institutions, to the investors, as well as to the industry. And thereby it will enable us to mobilize the green financing and the green resources. Globally, there is a significant development with respect to the green bonds and green financing. In 2024, the overall green financing surpassed $2 trillion US. In our market, it is relatively at a very initial stages. We have a few green bonds, but what we believe that with the availability of this Pakistan green taxonomy, we will be able to mobilize more and more green resources to finance our green projects. And similarly, the industry and the business community, they would be able to have that plan. And first, the assessment that where do we stand, and then a plan that how can we move towards the green operations, because there are more and more demands on the part of particularly international buyers that they would like their suppliers to have green operations and the green activities. So that is something that would provide that basis to the business community and the industry to move towards the greener operations and the greener activities. And the next step with respect to this green taxonomy, we are within this month, I think by 15th of this month, we are kickstarting the pilot to have the adoption and implementation of this strategy. In this pilot, we have selected 6 banks, 2 large banks, 2 mid-sized banks, 1 Islamic bank, and 1 specialized bank, which is dealing primarily in the agriculture sector. And in the pilot, the consultants who have developed this taxonomy, they will be working with these banks and their clients so that an assessment can be made with respect to the existing portfolio of the banks and financial institutions with respect to the benchmarks available in the green taxonomy. And as this is sort of a first step in the pilot, we would also be identifying the data gaps, because there will be data gaps. To have an objective assessment, you must have the relevant data, requisite data available with you to make an assessment with respect to the overall quality of the project as far as green is concerned. So those data gaps would also be identified in this phase. And then the data templates will be developed. We believe that in 6 months' time, inshallah, we will be able to complete that pilot in these 6 banks and their clientele, and that will, because it is dealing, the taxonomy is dealing with all the relevant sectors, including manufacturing and agriculture and the transport and the energy, blah, blah, blah. So those prototypes will be available. And with these prototypes, when these are available, now it will be made available to all the banks and financial institutions so that they should be able to make an assessment of their respective portfolio and educate and guide and facilitate their respective clients in moving and transitioning towards the greener operations. So that is something that we believe that would create that, at least at the domestic level, we would be able to have that capacity and the urge so that we could mobilize the greener resources. As the 50% reductions, out of the 50% reduction in GHG emissions that we have committed in the NDCs, 17% are unconditional, that we will be generating our internal resources. But 33% are contingent upon the grants and the concessional funding and the resources that we are expecting from our international partners and donor agencies. So these collaborations with international partners and donor agencies would also be critical so that we could have that requisite financing available. In the end, let me congratulate again Dawn Media Group and the Breathe Pakistan team for this beautiful initiative. Let me say this: you are the leader in that respect. I believe that, as I was saying earlier, because still people at large are not having that awareness and that realization and that understanding with respect to the severity of that risk. Media has a very, very critical role to play. And I highly appreciate the Dawn Media Group for having this initiative to create that awareness, not only the awareness, but also the advocacy towards moving that environment and that policies. Thank you very much.